So we can identify these different violences that are apparent in the transnational relationship here between found in the Mexican migrant communities. So moving along down subsection 3. Now a lot of what's in the article here I've covered now in the last 10-20 minutes. So I just want to go back over these different ideas. Now we can see again how the effectivity, how ultimately how these different communities can affect one another. And again we can use our different methods of reading these phenomena. We have like Arjun Appadurai's Scapes, of course, where we can see the interrelation of technology and finance, media, ideology, and ethnicity, of course. Sorry, I knew that was in there somewhere. And how all these ultimately interrelate. But we can see now, of course, how the technoscape would affect, say, the finance, the technoscape of Redwood would affect the financescape of Aguililla. Right. So again, there is another way we can apply Appadurai's ways of viewing these different phenomena. Now, also I mentioned this idea or this example of Mexican people not necessarily being concerned with acquiring American citizenships, but being allowed permanent residency, which gives them the opportunity to go back and forth between both communities and offer this opportunity to their children, and so on and so forth. So again, we've seen this example before in Alwa Ong's flexible citizenship. Okay, where this idea of a passport is not so much a cultural declaration, but a declaration of the willingness, or at least one's ability, to participate in an economic community. So again, these different or competing or alternative notions of identity. Okay, one is not necessarily American, but at least American enough to work, and this allows them an ability to sustain themselves within one society that also allows themselves to sustain themselves within another society. Of course, the distant relationship of the two satellites of Aguililla and Redwood City. Not only that, so we also see the example here of that children being sent to spend, say, summers in Mexico and then live with their family in Redwood. And now this allows them, almost a biculturalism, and bilingualism, definitely biculturalism, and an ability to preserve themselves or sustain themselves in both cultures and communities. Now again, we can see this comparison or this importance of symbolic capital. Now this is a means for the individual to gain acceptance, not just acceptance, but to find a place within this imagined social space. Okay. Now, there is an interesting issue of class identity within transnationalism. Now, we can see that there are these transnational participants within economy, and we've talked about the importance of participating in economy. Now, what we can see are the migrant workers who are attempting to almost reach first world standards by their participation in the first world and then sending this home to Mexico. But unlike other examples, we have there are two comparisons we can make. First of all, to Alwa Ong, we see how there are this preservation of, say, high culture, that what high culture is in China may differ from what high culture is in America, yet the high culture status is preserved even things that may be frowned upon in China are acceptable the Chinese community in America, because they allow them to preserve their status of high culture. So what else we can see in the other example here that we can see a comparison to or that can be compared to is another form of transnational relationship, ultimately that of migrant capital versus migrant labor. Now, we see within this class distinction that we have a number of individuals who are coming with capital to invest for sake of investment purposes, or people who have a transnational presence as investing abroad, like American money invested in Ireland and so on. That there is a different type of transnational participation, that the transnational element in the migrant capital is that capital is being sent over long distances, and your participation is an economic one, void of spatial proximity. Now, while migrant labor is also an economic effort, it's one where spatial proximity is necessary. You have to be in a different space to be in a certain factory and earn certain money. However, the importance or the value of this money, or what you can do with this money in the community it's related to, can again transcend the spatio-geographic limitations. So we do see these comparisons, what we see that we want to just see, so we can see the similarities in both examples, but we can also see the differences. So first, going back to this example of of the two types of high culture, it seems instead of sustaining high culture in the community by adopting new cultural practices, it seems that for some of the migrant labor forces, that the way of preserving high culture in their own community is by entering into the lower culture of another community, of this proletarian workforce.